Investigation uncovers can of worms in Lae City Council. China opens up to regional media. And new shopping mall for Western Highlands to service region.
This is the National EMTV News with Meribah Tulo.
A very good evening. Thank you for joining us for Monday's news. An investigation in the Lae City Council has revealed gross mismanagement and lack of proper accountability. The council is 17 million kina in debt, and in the last 4 weeks, the caretaker administration has been borrowing money from the provincial government to pay its staff wages. It has also been revealed the Morobe Provincial Administration failed to act on at least 3 previous investigations from the Auditor General's Office, which highlighted the same issues and recommended corrective measures.
In Lae City, basic services usually provided by the City Council have ground to a halt over 10 years. Since 2015, the situation has become a crisis. Contractors have gone unpaid, and this year, the council has had no money in its operating account to pay its staff. As one of his first tasks, the Lae MP John Rosso initiated an investigation into the functions of the Lae City Council. The investigation found misuse of public funds, a lack of financial accountability, abuse of process in hiring staff, and nepotism.
We have 17 million kina in outstanding debts to service providers that the City Council has inherited. The staff at the City Council do not get paid regularly.
The investigation also found that financial systems had collapsed. If the council were a private company, it would have been declared bankrupt in January.
The council basically has no asset register. They don't know how many land they own, and they don't know which cars they own.
It was also found that state properties were sold, but the proceeds of the transactions were unaccounted for and didn't follow due government process. In other words, who the money was paid to can't be traced unless a detailed investigation is done into the accounts of those involved. While the council has a staff ceiling of 250, there are 500 people on the payroll. 250 additional names whose salaries are being paid for by the taxpayers of Morobe Province. When the Lae MP initiated this investigation, he didn't know that there had been previous reports done by the Auditor General's Office. The findings of those reports were never made public, and they date back to 2013. The recommendations were never acted upon by the provincial government.
Morobe provincial government has failed to adequately put in place systems to correct this problem.
Within the next month, a committee will be set up by the provincial administration. That committee will act on the recommendations. It's expected the police fraud squad may be also called in to conduct criminal investigations. Scott Waide, National EMTV News, Lae.
The Judicial Service has been forced to delay the opening of its state-of-the-art 3-story court complex in Port Moresby. This is because of limited funds of only 80 million kina allocated to the Judicial Service in the 2018 national budget. Chief Justice Salamo Injia says the opening was planned on time with the APEC 2018 summit.
The Judicial Service had predicted the opening of the 3-story court complex would coincide with the APEC summit in 2018. However, because of massive budget cuts, it will not be the case. Instead, it will be halfway through construction when PNG hosts the APEC summit.
It will not be completed next year, and it will not be open during the APEC meeting, but we will be at a very advanced stage of the construction of that facility. It's going full steam now.
The total cost of the complex stands at 427 million kina. In 2015, the government gave the Judicial Service 180 million kina for this project. Towards the end of the legal year in 2016, a groundbreaking ceremony was staged to mark the start of the construction.
And with the funds allocated this year, which is about 80 million, and next year's funds, we should will have reached about halfway through construction by the end of next year. And according to the government's budget program that I've seen, The bulk of the funding will be provided in the 2019 budget.
However, the Judicial Service will need 200 million kina more to complete the project.
They decided to give us only 80 million for next year. So obviously our objective will not be achieved, but that is a matter for the government, and the judiciary respects the decision of the executive government and parliament.
The new complex will have 14 courtrooms, judges' chambers, a holding cell including National and Supreme Court registries. It will be the biggest court facility in PNG and is part of Sir Salamo's initiative to give court facilities in the country a facelift.
We're happy to go along the government's program for construction of that facility, which is a major facility. It's in fact the biggest impact project in terms of government facility that's being built at the moment. So we'll go along with their timelines.
Apart from the state-of-the-art court facility, the Judicial Service is increasing the number of judges to fast-track the backlog of cases. Thekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
At least 9 police officers have been identified to have been involved in the alleged murder of a 15-year-old boy in Port Moresby last week. NCD Metropolitan Superintendent Pero Drano said those allegedly involved will be questioned this week. The matter is being treated as a homicide by the Criminal Investigation Division. Police have been collecting statements from eyewitnesses since last Thursday, with 3 police vehicles already identified. It is alleged that police shot 15-year-old Joe Michael last Wednesday at the Irma near the Komul flyover. Moving on, journalists from Pacific Island countries have completed a week-long tour in China, learning about the world's second largest economy. It was an educational trip for Fiji, PNG, Samoa, Tonga and the Federated State of Micronesia, where China has played a contributing role in their development through bilateral relationships with their respective governments. MTV's Marilyn Diaukatam was part of the journalists who toured China.
These journalists have visited Beijing, Shenzhen and Guangzhou of Guangdong Province. Organized by China's Department of Information and Ministry of Foreign Affairs, it was an opportunity to build a relationship with China and to see the Chinese government's plans for Pacific Island countries. The program started in Beijing's Exhibition Center to get a feel of the country's change in direction after the reform and its way forward under President Xi Jinping. The journalists were keen to know the economic and social cooperation between China and their countries.
Journalists that are around the table, and we've come with some expectations. For us in the Pacific, as you know, the small island countries in the Pacific, China is very visible. We've seen the assistance that China has given us small island countries in the Pacific, mostly in a lot of our infrastructure development. So this is our understanding of what China is about. And the expectation that I think that when I speak on behalf of our members is, China is like a donor to us. It comes in and helps us in our time of need. But for this trip, some of us, the expectation is to come and understand.
The opportunity to meet with China's government officials has deepened the understanding of the diplomatic ties and an opportunity for open dialogue.
It's very important for those developing countries to have more connections with each other, to share more experiences with each other, and to help each other. And also, the President Xi Jinping's report in the 19th Party Congress, it also made it clear that with China getting stronger and stronger, we will have more capability to help other countries. That means we will in a better position to provide assistance to other countries.
Guangdong Province boasts of outstanding achievements in economic and social development. It is the most populous province in China, and its GDP reached $1.2 trillion in 2016. One of its remarkable cities is Shenzhen, where Shenzhen Economic Zone reached 1.94 trillion yuan, up by 9% year-on-year. A visit to Guangdong's capital, Guangzhou City, known as the South Gate of China. It is where the maritime Silk Road started. In 2016, its GDP reached 1.95 trillion yuan. The week experience has broadened the insights into China's developments. Merlin Diaukatam, National EMTV News.
Here with National EMTV News, more stories 7 days out from Christmas. After these messages, stay tuned. Welcome back to National EMTV News. The spirit of Christmas has brought together the little township of Tabubil. The Christmas lights displayed has been launched by Oktedi Mining Limited Deputy Chief Executive Officer Moshe Wera. This event is the first of its kind that brought much delight to the town's residents and nearby communities.
A Christmas tree topped with a star just over 7 meters was the centerpiece of this festive occasion. Christmas lights laced the walkway of the town center and the Oktedi Mining headquarters. The highlight of the event was Santa Claus's presence, greeted by children and even parents. Angelic voices of singing carols were performed by the Tabubil Catholic Church Children, the AOG Church Choir, the East New Britain Choir Group, and the Star Mart Supermarket Choir. Lillian Kinea, National EMTV News.
Christmas must focus on Christ as our Lord and Savior. This is from the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Papua New Guinea and the Solomon Islands. General Secretary Father Victor Roche says while Christmas has been commercialized, families in Papua New Guinea must celebrate its true essence and meaning.
In today's press conference, Father Victor brought across a genuine message to remind citizens of the true meaning of Christmas. A time to celebrate as a family.
God chose to send his son in a family. So family takes precedence, family takes focus. So Christmas should be a family celebration. So it is good that we bring the families together. If there are husbands and wives and children, please, there should be unity, there should be joy and peace in our celebrations.
The joy of Christmas is the birth of Jesus Christ, and as citizens, we must be responsible for our actions during this festive season.
Call upon all the unemployed youth and the so-called rascals, please allow the families, the individuals, the visitors, whatever city, whatever town you are in, allow them to enjoy Christmas holidays.
Christmas is the joyful celebration and a time of peace.
Wish all of you a very joy and peace-filled Christmas and a blessed New Year.
Lillian Kinea, National EMTV News.
The opening of the new Tininga Hagen Central Shopping Mall today comes at a timely gesture as a Christmas gift to the people of Western Highlands province. Despite the financial crisis Papua New Guinea is going through, Tininga store owner Pat Dutqueg says it was a gesture of faith to his faithful customers. The shopping mall cost Tininga Company and steamships at least 10 million kina to partner in building this facility.
Mr. Duckworth said he would like to lift the standard of retailing in Mount Hagen to a whole new level so that people should not need to fly to Port Moresby to experience it. Duckworth said he built the shopping mall in Mount Hagen, being the center of the 7 Highlands provinces, so it will benefit her sister provinces. The shopping mall has similar architectural design to the shopping malls in Australia. Most of its frozen goods are imported from Australia and New Zealand. Its fresh produce is bought locally from farmers.
It's a gesture of faith on behalf of Tininga in the future of Mount Hagen. We're from Mount Hagen, we belong to Mount Hagen, and we want to take the service we give to the people of Mount Hagen forward.
The new shopping mall is Tininga Company's 4th retail shop to be opened in Mount Hagen City. The company lost one of its new shopping centers, Tininga Dobel, to fire a few months ago, leaving Rainbow and Best Buy operating. Women and mothers living near the new shopping mall are very thankful to Tininga for building a shopping center near them. They told EMTV News they never feel safe walking to the town to buy their goods. More than 3,000 people living in the surrounding T School, Holy Trinity and Newtown area can now easily walk to do their shopping.
Now every day me go out to Rainbow or me go out to town, me find him danger, legally go some plenty of pickpocket money and stuff, kind of man and stuff. Now I'm bringing porret long. Me walk about look buy more something lo market. So now me I must go through because this la big platinum supermarket where I'm stuff straight house do up me where me sleep inside the T school area.
Plus fret lik na ko town and now I'm house to me plan mas na. Me plan thank you lo boss man saya ka put him house to na me plan pag essential shopping na ko house them. Big la master.
The most shops kind of some display lo meeting development where narpla province where kind of some lane pot mosquito block lo golongan. So display me look me one pla good pla something tininga me game which is part of development where come the province me bla.
Tininga company have partnered with steamships to build a shopping mall. Trading has already started this morning and shoppers were packed to capacity to see what it's like to have a shopping mall for the first time. Some other big companies that will set up later are Big Rooster, Number One Trophy, City Pharmacy, Kina Bank and Theodore Stationery. Vasinata Yama, National EMTV News, Mount Hagen.
Contributors to PNG Teachers Savings and Loan Society in Milne Bay Province can expect improved services following the opening of their very own building. TISA House was opened by Deputy Prime Minister Charles Abel. This investment by TISA has been described as the catalyst for more economic growth in Milne Bay. The township of Alatau in Milne Bay Province came alive over the weekend with contributors of the largest savings and loan society in Papua New Guinea, Teachers Savings and Loan Society, celebrating the opening of their newest investment in the province, TISA House. This development, the first major investment for TISA in the province since it opened its operations here in 2004.
And one more.
The members in Alatau have been so committed for a very long time, and we wanted to give them something, the most modern building, so that they can access the services in terms of saving and loan.
Since establishing an office in Milne Bay Province, contributions to TISA within the province have grown significantly, with member savings now in the millions, an indication of the commitment to growing a savings culture in this part of the country.
Milne Bay Province has over 3,000 members with deposits totaling 20 million kina and a loan book of around 16 million.
The development of TISA House comes at a cost of over 8 million kina, which has been credited as an indication of its commitment to helping develop Alatau in the years ahead, a move which has been welcomed by the political leaders of Milne Bay.
But TISA, you took a bit of a risk to come here. You spent some money. So I thank you on behalf of Milne Bay, and I hope that this house will be very successful in the future.
Speaking about extending financial services to our people, that's also an important element of it. So we're very happy. And I explained some of the other developments that we are also planning to do in town and beyond. And this is part of the facelift of Alatau town.
TISA House was constructed over 11 months with the contractor, Associated Builders and Contractors, engaging local builders to help in the development of this new facility.
And good quality workmanship. And this is my third project here in Melimbi. I use Alatau boys, about 30 of them, and with about 4 Filipinos, engineers and supervisor.
The Savings and Loan Societies Act 2015 is yet to be gazetted. Amendments passed by Parliament in 2015 allow for contributors to choose which savings and loan societies to save with. Currently, members are restricted to contributing to only one society. According to Deputy Prime Minister Charles Abel, the changes are aimed to provide options for contributors and ultimately building a savings culture.
Because some of the provisions in that act will enable other members, other members of the community to participate in the success of Teacher Savings and Loan Society. We don't want just only for the teachers. If teachers are enjoying this success and accessing loans and the other benefits of this particular organization, other Papua New Guineans should also have the opportunity. And so I've just told them there's nothing stopping the activation of that act. Just get the certification from the Speaker and take it down to the Governor General. All he has to do is sign the instrument, and the act will come into force upon Gazettal.
The choice lies upon the members or the new intending members to come to TISA. As you have heard, the Deputy Prime Minister said he had a word with the people in Port Moresby that soon the new act is going to be coming out after the Gazettal notice.
It took 3 years of self-determination in planning for a new water project in the Central Province. The launching yesterday at Konako Village was a celebration of achievement, taking ownership of improving living standards in the community. The Konako villagers will now have access to clean water, which will also supply nearby villages. The pilot project of the government was constructed by the villagers with the help from the Works Department.
In Rigo Inland, Konako Village. It is my honor to officially launch the project.
This is Kinako Village in the inland Rigo LLG.
And she started delivering on the promise.
It was a milestone achievement for the villagers yesterday after the completion of the gravity feed water project with 150,000 kina. It took 3 years of planning, but 11 months of construction. Thank you to the World Bank for investing in lifelong projects. Project manager Michael Avosa acknowledged villagers for taking ownership of the project.
I must say that we as a project, we have been thankful for the patience of the Konako people. It's taken 3 years. That is a hell of a wait. We cannot let communities wait for 3 years. But thankfully, they have been very patient, and we are here together to make sure that they enjoy the fresh water, safe drinking fresh water.
Secretary for Provincial and Local Government Affairs Department Dixon Guina thanked the government for this great investment. The new water is a way forward for the government to establish other projects, service delivery to most remote rural areas like water, health and education will follow through as part of the government's plan to bring in services right to the people's doorstep.
That this project or this program will change the lives of our people because it's really empowering the communities. It's giving the opportunity for communities to make change for themselves. The attention to make sure that our communities are developed. Make sure that our communities have better water system, they must have health system, they must have education system, roads, so that they can be able to live a good life.
Central and Western Province were two provinces to accept the pilot gravity water project. This project will also be trialled starting next year in other parts of the country. Godwin Eki, National EMTV News.
In another story from China, despite facing problems of unbalanced development in rural areas, China believes in sharing its experience with other developing countries. Deputy Director General Foreign Affairs Ministry Zhu Xianyuan says their model is to help improve living standards. China has been steering the One Belt, One Road initiative under the direction of its president, Xi Jinping.
The Deputy Director General said simply the concept of the One Belt, One Road initiative is to help countries improve their living standards. She says it's not a strategy that China would use for geographical dominance. She clarified that the One Belt, One Road initiative is carried out in consultation with partnering countries and the government for mutual benefits.
Offer our experience, offer our assistance on the basis of mutual respect and common interest. So this is a basic concept of why China is interested in the Pacific Island countries. And it is true that we share lots of common interests nowadays. Development is always the most important area. This is domestically development is still is the top priority for our government, and we believe in the world for many other countries, development is also the top priority for.
President Xi Jinping introduced the concept of creating a network of railways, roads, pipelines, and utility grids that would link China and Central Asia, West Asia, and parts of South Asia in 2013 as a recount of the famous Silk Road trading route. Meanwhile, PNG is among other countries that have partnered with the Chinese government's One Belt, One Road initiative, and this has included the high-impact projects in the 2018 national budget. Merlin Diaukatam, National EMTV News.
And now a look at the finance news. The kina closed unchanged at $0.3105 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.303, $0.3924 Australian dollars, $0.2539 euro, and 33.75 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold is trading higher, coffee and copper closed the day higher, cocoa closed the day lower. Crude oil is trading higher, copper closed higher, while palm oil closed the day lower. And on the stock markets, the Dow Jones closed 143 points higher, the ASX is up 41 points, and the All Ordinaries closed 42 points higher. You're watching Monday's news, international news on the other side of this break. Stay tuned. Welcome back to National EMTV News. Turning overseas now, in Australia, activists have blocked roads and climbed poles outside the container port at Appleton Dock, protesting against the treatment of Manus Island refugees. Traffic came to a standstill while protesters marched with banners during the morning peak hour. 3 climbers attached signs to live poles and refused to come down. 2 women are expected to be charged over this protest.
The people from Manus Island to be free and to be given safety.
Pope Francis is celebrating his 81st birthday. In his birthday speech, he warned against excessive materialism this Christmas and appealed for the release of bugs kidnapped last month in Nigeria. Earlier, he was treated to traditional birthday cake and less traditional, a 4-meter birthday pizza. Pope Francis urged the children to eat to help their growth. A driver who killed a 9-year-old boy at Christmas last year has been sentenced to 7 years in prison, but he is eligible for parole after serving 2 years. The family of the deceased says it's a slap in their face.
The mother of Josiah Sisson says her family has lost the joy of Christmas forever. Josiah was looking at Christmas lights with his big brother and family friends on Christmas night last year when he was mowed down at high speed by drunk driver Adrian Murray in Springwood. Murray pleaded guilty to the charge of dangerous driving causing death while intoxicated in the district court in Beenleigh this morning. He was more than 3 times over the legal alcohol limit after drinking bourbon at a party. Murray was warned by a friend not to drive that night but refused to take his advice. He was sentenced to 7 years in prison, but the 25-year-old can apply for parole after serving 2 years. Outside court, Josiah's father spoke on behalf of the family.
The first thing I thought about is my son was 9 years old and the defendant didn't even get 9 years. And that's a bit of a slap in the face when we have to live with this for the rest of our lives. And our poor son lost his life.
Carl Sisson extended forgiveness to Murray last year during a church service, but he told the court forgiveness did not mean he condoned Murray's actions. The pastor has since closed down his church and relocated the family to Brisbane's north side. The Sissons say they always leave a chair at the dinner table for Josiah, remembering him as a happy boy with a big, compassionate heart.
An Australian citizen originally from South Korea is being accused of trying to sell missile parts for North Korea. It's the first time in Australia someone has been charged under rules over the country's weapons of mass destruction.
Australian Federal Police say that this case is like nothing they have ever seen before on Australian soil. A 59-year-old man, Chan Han Choi, has been arrested in Sydney for allegedly being an economic agent for North Korea. Now, we understand from 7 Network Australia that he has been charged with 2 unsuccessful deals, which would potentially have been worth tens of millions of dollars for the North Korean regime, but they don't know if there were more deals than that. Now, the allegations against this man are that he was trying to broker deals with international entities to supply missile technology. It is alleged that he was trying to potentially talk about building a ballistic missile production facility, about providing missile construction plans, and even offering the expertise of North Korean specialists who would be able to train in a country outside of North Korea. Now, this is a very unusual case, and certainly it raises many concerns about proliferation from the North Korean regime. Australian police have said that this man appeared to be doing it for patriotic reasons and that he would have sold anything to try and raise revenues for the North Korean regime. Now, officials here in South Korea and America, around the world, say that they believe that international sanctions are starting to affect North Korea, that they would be feeling the economic pinch, and so certainly there are concerns of how Pyongyang is trying to raise revenues to get around those sanctions. So certainly this is raising many concerns around the world.
In the coming days, delegates of South Africa's ruling party will vote for a new leader. The African National Congress is replacing embattled President Jacob Zuma, whose presidency has been plagued by corruption scandals.
ANC delegates pray for unity before welcoming the president central to their party's decline. This is the public face of a bitter battle. The ANC has lost supporters as Zuma faces hundreds of allegations of corruption and fraud. So delegates hope this crucial vote for his replacement as party leader will signal the rebirth of their once proud ANC, sending a message to South Africa and the world.
They're openly disagreeing with the party's leadership, so this is democracy in action, but less than 5,000 people will make a choice for more than 50 million South Africans.
Just down the road in Soweto, on the street where Nelson Mandela lived, South Africans died in the struggle against apartheid.
We didn't know that. What is it that we are going to meet when we arrive at Vilakazi Street?
The survivors are disillusioned with the party of Mandela. Opa Maloto says the ANC has lost its way.
It's a painful thing. You really have a question mark that do these people know how much we have sacrificed for this country?
It was at this same venue as well.
He says whether the deputy president or a former minister and Zuma's ex-wife win, the ANC must still reckon with the rot. And the woman perhaps most responsible for exposing the allegations agrees.
So a lot of it is about President Zuma. But is it only about President Zuma? No, that would be a mistake, because I think the waters have been poisoned.
Zuma denies all the charges of corruption, and he's famous for surviving scandal. Will the ANC overcome his legacy?
You're watching National EMTV News. Trukai Sports is up next. Don't go away.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. Winning gold in the Ocean and Pacific Invitational in Singapore, 31-year-old Andrew Kalau from Hanobada is not far from becoming the next world champion in powerlifting. PNG Powerlifting President Michael Kingston, who witnessed the success of Andrew, says the country should look out for Andrew as he prepares for the World Championships next year.
Participating for the second time in an Oceania event, Andrew Kalau won 4 gold, an unforgettable achievement. At 31, he says powerlifting can be anyone's sport. His next mission is to train hard for the upcoming games. Kalau totaled 9 times his body weight in Singapore, often considered that it's not possible to do 10 times body weight without using drugs. But the drug-free lifter truly lifted up amazing numbers at the event. He led the competition all the way through. There were 6 or 7 other lifters in his weight class, becoming the unbeatable power lifter.
From Papua New Guinea, Andrew Kalau.
Kalau finished his event successfully with 4 gold medals. President Michael Kingston, who witnessed Kalau's success, says he is proud of what he has achieved. Looking to the future, Mr. Kingston believes Kalau could set a new world record. The current world record for his weight class is 669.5 kg or 11.33 times body weight. He has the raw talent to beat that record. Kalau's next big event will be the Oceania and Pacific Invitational in Sydney, where he will defend his win, and the major event that is less than 7 months away, the World Championships in Canada in June 2018. Godwin Eki, National EMTV Sports.
Vice Minister for Sports Wesley Ramanai has congratulated Team PNG for another spectacular performance at the 10th Mini Pacific Games in Vanuatu. PNG finished second behind New Caledonia with 85 medals in total. It was noted the political support was important to promote and develop sportsmanship here in Papua New Guinea. We'll have more of Trukai Sports after these messages. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. Former PNG Hunters Vice Captain Wellington Albert is set to join the Widen Vikings next year. He becomes the second PNG player to join the club after they also signed Kato Otio.
The 23-year-old joins the Vikings from Queensland Cup champions PNG Hunters after impressing with some powerful performances in the Kumul's run to the quarterfinals of the World Cup. Wellington spent 2 years with the Penrith Panthers before returning to Papua New Guinea, making it into the SP Hunters 2017 team. Widnes head coach Dennis Batts has already brought in Kato Otio from the Canberra Raiders ahead of the new season, and is looking forward to having the duo at his disposal. Batts says the inclusion of Otio and Albert will boost the team's performance next year. Both players impressed Batts during the World Cup.
He puts a well-weighted kick in, flying forward. Beautiful try it is for the Kumals. They go in to score. I think the man was Kato Otio.
Elijah Levet, National EMTV Sports.
One of the fighters who represented Papua New Guinea in karate at the Mini Pacific Games, Vincent Bogan, spoke to MTV today about his performance in Vanuatu. The 27-year-old fared well at the Games, winning all his fights until the gold medal playoff, where he unfortunately had to settled for gold. This was the second time he represented PNG, debuting at the 2015 Pacific Games here in PNG. In Vanuatu, he won a silver and a bronze.
Performance to me lo Vanuatu am alright. Me got some likely goal. All areas chol where me mukad lo but me compete lo under 84 kilograms. Okay, yeah, me manage to make him through gonna have finals. So me go lo finals, but me no me go lose lo finals. I managed to see one plus silver. So I think we make it good. Just because me got like injuries, so now me lo fight do me and me. me film somebody penso me lose him some control the league inside fight me.
And congratulations on his 2 medals. We go for a break now. When we come back, the weather details for Tuesday. Stay tuned.
Sports. True Kai Sports.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
A look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours. In the southern region, mostly fired. Port Moresby, Daru, Kerma, Alotau and Popondetta. To the Momas region, all centers to expect showers. To the New Guinea Islands, showers as well in all the major centers. In the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg, rain and showers with morning fog expected over the next 24 hours. To the forecast for small ships for the next 24 hours. There is a strong wind warning current for all coastal waters of Bogia to Wewak to Aitape, Vanimo and northern PNG Indonesian border, including Manus and its western group of islands and New Island. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Island to Kerma, Yule Island, Hood Point, Samurai Island, and with waters of eastern and western Milne Bay Islands, with waters of Samurai Island to Cape Vogel, Finchafen, and with waters of New Britain to Bougainville, sea 0.5 to 1.5 meters. Waters of Long Island to Medang, Bogia, Wewak, Aitape, and Vanimo, and northern PNG Indonesian border, and with waters of New Island, seas 2 to 3 meters, and waters of Manus and its western group of islands, seas 2.5 to 3 meters.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
And before we go, Palestinian leaders are trying a new tactic, asking the United Nations to vote this week on a resolution to nullify President Trump's recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's capital.
Above 70-year-old Hussein Aslan's bed is a wall decoration of the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem. I made it out of my love for the original place, he recalls, my love for the Al-Aqsa Mosque, for the Dome of the Rock. He designed it 25 years ago, well before he lost his legs to diabetes, before he lost his sight, before President Trump declared the U.S. would recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, driving a sharp knife into an already festering wound for Palestinians. 3 generations of the Aslan's family were born here. The Kalandia refugee camp started as a tent city. Over the decades, its reluctant residents built it up, adding on floors as families grew. Its densely packed population feel like they have just been left to fester as the state of Israel thrives. I don't cry about stones, I cry about the place, about the memories, Hussein tells us. The Aslans are originally from the picturesque city of Jaffa, right on the Mediterranean coast. It's a total contrast from where they are now. Manshia was its northernmost neighborhood, today a part of Tel Aviv. The most prominent building left of its Palestinian history is the mosque. Outside, we meet taxi driver Ahmad al-Sha'ar.
His family's home was actually just down the street. The whole square here, that's now a parking lot, used to be lined with homes, and there was also a school.
He takes us into the mosque to see a handful of photographs, before and after.
This is approximately where we were just filming from, and you can see in this old photograph just how close the houses were to the shoreline.
In Ahmad's heart and in his mind, this is still Palestine, though he believes that they can coexist alongside Israel. I know from experience that some of them can be convinced that we have rights. We can live together, he explains. We can accept living together. We cannot accept that they replace us. It's a tempered view compared to that of others who live within the Palestinian territories, where the experiences are just too raw, like those within the Aslan household.
This is one of the last photos she has of her son.
Shahnaz Aslan wants to scream each time she remembers him. Her son was shot and killed on this building's rooftop in 2014 during a massive Israeli nighttime raid as they searched for 3 missing Israeli teens. All she wishes for the now 4-year-old her son left behind is that he will have a chance his father never did, to get an education, and to live in a Palestine that isn't consumed by the anger that eats at their souls. They killed my cousin, our friends, one relative jumps in speaking of the Israelis. For me to go tomorrow and say hi to them as if nothing happened? Impossible. Impossible, too, for the population of Kalandia to give up on what they viscerally believe is their own land. The checkpoint here is one of the main ones into the West Bank, along the separation wall. Clashes like these and elsewhere throughout the Palestinian territories are growing in the aftermath of Trump's Jerusalem declaration. The pain of the Palestinians, defined differently for each generation, for each individual. For Hussein Aslan, now blind. But through his darkness, there is a repeating vision of the waves breaking on Jaffa's shore, of fishing, of the era we saw in the photographs. He imagines going to Jaffa, to his house that used to be on its shores.
And that's how we begin another working week. On behalf of the EMTV News team, pleasant viewing. Good night.